everyone, and welcome back to another episode of OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast. Worlds is slowly creeping up. I don't know, it's getting exciting. Cannot wait. Joe Brown is out doing cool Olympic editing stuff. He'll be back next week for a special episode. But this week, I have none other than Nick and Tang to be joining me. Talk about, things Worlds coming up, how they're feeling, kind of how they're getting ready and stuff. First off, how are each of you guys doing? Nick first. What's up? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm playing a lot, doing a lot of testing in general, and I'm really excited because this is my first Worlds, so I'm really ready for a pretty strong experience.
I mean, it'll be a good one for your first Worlds, and we'll get more to that just in a little bit. Tang, how are you doing this fine Wednesday evening? Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Not really much going on. Just been at home most of the day, prepping for Worlds, and I'm getting ready for a trip tomorrow before Worlds. Hang out with family, but yeah.
Oh, that'll be nice. Where to? Somewhere fun? Or?
I guess the beach. Yeah, pretty sure going to the beach. I haven't packed yet, but
yeah, that's pretty standard for our trips too.
Yeah, so. standard me. Yeah.
Some midnight packing never.
Yeah, I was gonna do it right after this too. That's gonna be,
Oh, sorry it took so long to get the podcast.
No worries.
I appreciate both of you joining us. Obviously, us three know each other, but figured for the viewers out there that before we get into the podcast episodes, when we have guests, a fun thing to start doing from here on out would be a couple little icebreakers, just so everyone's a little bit more acquainted with the guest, and we're not just diving into like the hard-hitting questions off the bat. So, first off, I feel like the favorite Pokemon question is boring, overused. Tang, already know your answer. Can't do that. So we're going to go with what is your least favorite Pokemon and why?
That's hard.
That is a hard question.
I don't usually like look for the worst one.
Pokemon that like you face that is just like every time you see it, you're just like, oh, I hate this thing.
Oh, like competitively?
Okay. It could be either or.
Yeah, competitively, then that's. Ooh, that's. Oh, that's hard to say because. There's a lot that I don't like. There's a lot. This can go on for a while.
I really don't like Ting Lu.
You can answer first. You can answer.
I really don't like Ting Lu. Ting Lu's so annoying.
Because you were a Saipan player.
I was for a while, and then Ting Lu still was not good for the Blood Moon stuff. It was very annoying because like you can't bring Trick Room into it because then it just snarls you to death. And it's like with Terra, it's so incredibly bulky sometimes, depending on if it's like poison or water.
I hate Tornadus. It's like a love-hate relationship. Like I love using him when it works, but then when it misses, it's really sad. And when I face enemy Tornaduses, they always land their Bleakwings. Or Tornadus also knocked me out of Worlds. The round one was my first loss to Torn as well, and it was just not fun. So I like him, but I don't like him. So it's probably Tornadus.
Fair. I think you need a new one in your games, one that'll actually hit Bleakwings.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Ask one of your opponents one day, just be like, I've noticed your Torn keeps like connecting. Can we trade or something?
I just gotta start running Air Slash too. Sheeling always likes to joke that my best performance of Torn has been Air Slash, so I gotta do that again.
True.
Isn't that 95% accurate? Isn't
that
extra? Like,
didn't you lose to Paul at the local, like Paul Chua? On an Air Slash miss?
Yes.
We traveled like 4 hours for a local.
Yeah, local MSS finals. I missed Air Slash and I lost.
It's so bad. I remember that.
It usually works. I think it's better than Bleakwind by a long shot for me. I land more Air Slashes than Bleakwinds. So
my God.
I would hope so.
Yeah, we definitely just need to get you a new tour. That's that is for sure. Mine's Mr. Mime just because I think it is creepy and I hate him.
That's valid.
Yeah,
good answer.
Absolutely not. Yeah, thank you. I think that's a good answer. All right, next one. What has been your favorite moment competing? And Tang, you're not allowed to say a regional win. And
I wasn't.
Say your second place. Like, it's something different.
Okay.
Let me think. Favorite. I think. I feel like then.
I just don't have one that comes to mind.
No, not like a second answer because he has 2 good answers. I have 1 good answer. Probably. I really enjoy our local scene. I think our local scene is a ton of fun.
Okay.
And there's not like any specific moment, but just like going like back to the same like venues and interacting with like the staff and the players in the scene and the like the DMV area scene has been really good. And I'm thankful for the scene and the fact that we get to have all these locals and still play the game without having to drive 8 hours to a regional. But like other like I don't know if there's one specific moment that really comes to mind.
I think that's a great answer. So let's go. Tang, what about your favorite moment?
Favorite moment? I think Toronto Regional. I had a lot of good moments there. Probably be like the moment I made cut or the match. Like I lived on like 3 HP, and then it was cool because like I haven't made cut in a while because I kind of had like a rough streak before Toronto, and making top 8 again was pretty cool. Also with a team I didn't really expect to do well with, and just overall fun time. Toronto had a lot of memories, but that's probably one of my favorite ones I've had.
Toronto Regionals is always a lot of fun. So honestly too, like knowing your journey and being able to make that live and all that. So great stuff. All right, now we're going to get into serious of this all right, we got Worlds almost like right around the corner. Like
don't say that.
I don't know about you guys, it kind of feels like this is snuck up on me. Like
it did sneak up.
Yeah,
it is like what 3 weeks. In 3 weeks we'll be in. Is that right?
Oh no! Wait, that's a lot sooner than I thought it was.
Well, no. A little more than 3 weeks. More than 3 weeks.
Like 3.5.
Yeah, like 3.5
3.5.
weeks. Wait.
It's in 3 weeks is the 14th. That's the Wednesday. If you're not there by the Thursday, good luck with competing on the Friday, right?
Okay, you are right. Yeah,
you are right. That's scaring me. Oh shit!
Yeah, sorry, were you guys not panicked and now are like?
I was like kind of panicked.
I try to forget about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, the time's kind of flown by. So it's been a little bit since NAIC. It kind of seems like forever ago. Also, like it was just there. Worlds is now right around the corner, as we're tragically discovering. Like, what have you guys been doing in the break? Has it been kind of? I know locals have started back up. Have you guys made it out to locals? Just kind of chilling? Is it more like, all right, this is the grind because Worlds is coming up? Like, what have you guys been up to?
We don't have the most locals currently. Like I've been to one, and it was more to test something, and I learned some valuable information. I think for me right now, like what I've been doing lately is I've been kind of testing a lot of the general stuff, like what I like to think of as the big 3 being Calyrex, Ice Rider, Shadow Rider, and Miraidon. Personally, I don't think that there's too much of a reason to play anything outside of that, other than like some people who are really, really comfortable with Kyogre, for example, or sometimes Zamazenta. But I think like the big 3's matchup charts are just so strong that it's hard to justify not playing them. And I think it's all the stuff that I've been playing lately has been slight variations of teams that we've seen do well with the big 3 to kind of slide into the meta and do like takes people by surprise a little bit, but use a strong core. I mean, that's kind of how my entire like Charlotte team was. It was a decently well-known team at the time previously, and I made a few edits and it went insanely well. So it's like that's kind of what I'm trying to do for this Worlds personally.
Why do you guys figure out with like the local 2 like get some info? Do you use professional team stealer? Or,
yeah.
Okay. I mean, hey, if it works, right?
Yeah.
No complaints there. I mean, Tang, you were talking about going on your trip like soon. Anything else you've been up to in the summer? Has it been the grind? Has it been Pokerogue? Like,
honestly, Pokerogue took up a lot of time earlier in the summer. A little bit too much time. I like almost completed the decks. I got all the shinies. God. They have like these little challenge modes you can do too for achievements. But besides that, I have been grinding. I still play a lot of Pokemon on my free time. Mostly like Showdown and stuff. But I also like want to try to do online tours, but whenever it happens, like Victory Road has an online tour coming up, but I can never play in those because I'm either busy or I wake up too late for them. That's kind of what happened to the last one. But yeah, and for locals, I haven't been to any locals yet. I think there is a local this weekend, but I'm also missing that. So
it's best of one anyways, so you're not missing too much.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, my next local is probably going to be in Toronto because I'm actually visiting good friend Marcus Dion in Toronto. So the week before Worlds, so I might hit a local there for practice.
Is there locals happening then?
Allegedly, he told me that, so I was like, okay, sure, why not come up? Not just for the local, but I was just going up there anyways to visit. And if the local's there to play, I'll play it for some last-minute Worlds practice. But yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a slow summer. I'm not doing a whole lot besides that. But I think that compared to last Worlds, I think my I guess practice cycle or habits have been like slightly better. I think I was definitely a little bit laid back last time. But yeah.
I mean, let's talk about Worlds and it coming up and kind of just thoughts besides like the general panic of it being closer. Because Nick, this is going to be your first Worlds competing, and Tang, this is now your second. Last year you were like the newbie going into it, and then now you're like more of a veteran. So like, how are you guys feeling just general with Worlds coming up?
General, you want to start? You can start.
No, you start. I started last time.
Okay. General, I mean, like, I don't really have high standards for Worlds. I mean, last year, like I didn't do amazing, but I also like I don't think I just like had the right mindset going in. I'm just kind of going in just to get it, honestly, to get it over with. That's probably not the best mindset ever, but I know I can do better than last year. That's really it. Kind of the goal is go and do better than last year and have fun. Really, I mean, Hawaii is pretty cool, so gonna have fun with that. And yeah, I mean, just the goal is just to do better. That's really it. I think winning Worlds would be amazing. Like at minimum, I would love to at least top cut. That's kind of the goal every time. If that doesn't happen, that doesn't happen. If I can get close to that, then I'll be happy enough. So yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're going from now. This is your second Worlds, Nick. This is your first one. So
yeah,
more like nerves or excitement.
Well, so I'm personally extremely excited. Like the nerves are kind of they're there, but it's more in the team building aspect than the playing aspect. Because I feel like once I can find something that I can vibe with, like very strong, then I'll be able to be a lot more comfortable. And the thing is, the nerves really shouldn't impact me that much when it comes to being my first Worlds, because it's everyone's first Worlds in this format, the way that it's like in terms of Terra with restricteds and also the new formatting with the rounds, like Swiss being completely different and asymmetrical cut. This is a first experience for everyone. Like there's never been something like that. Like other than the Victory Road tournament, like doing it the same way, but there's been no like in-person practice like that. So I know that everyone else is kind of on a similar playing field to me mentally when it comes into like having comfort. Like, yeah, being in a new place, doing something like this is not like uncommon for some of the people who've been to Worlds, like I don't know, 4 or 5, even 6 times. Like, but no one's done Worlds like this, and that's what's kind of making me just like, okay, yeah, I feel like I can go in and take some names. Hopefully, that's the goal. But yeah, I'm just really excited to play, and my girlfriend's uncle lives in Hawaii, like very close to the venue, so we have a extra leg up in terms of that.
Actually, a free place to stay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually like small world type stuff. Like
yeah.
For your girlfriend's
that's
uncle
what I'm saying.
Just be living near like the Worlds venue. Like that's
exactly.
Crazy.
Like we still got a hotel. I mean, we did something insanely smart. We before EUIC, we knew that they were going to book Worlds in August, so we found a really good rate of a refundable hotel, and we just booked every week in August. And it didn't cost any money up front, so we booked every week in August, and we just canceled the other weeks once they announced it. And we got a very, very, very good rate, which is awesome.
I have to remember that one. Okay. Big brain over there. Okay.
Travel hacks.
I want to circle back around to you talking about like the format of this world and stuff, and ask your guys' opinions. I mean, you're talking about this kind of just being newer and stuff, but Tang, you got to participate in last year's world, which is the last one of that format. So then, do you think then going into this year's worlds that it's something that you like this format a little bit better? You kind of indifferent? Was last year's like?
I'm a little indifferent. I think it's slightly better than last world because we actually had time to play in the format compared to last year. Like last year, it was Regulation D, and that was the first format of any tournament, basically. So going to that basically blind was a lot, like it was a worse feeling, just because we couldn't really flesh out the format that well outside of like limitless tours or the online ladder, right? But with this, at least, I've already played in 2 tournaments. I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable with the format, even though I'm not a huge fan of it. I have prior experience to it, which I think experience and comfort can take you a long way compared to last year. So that's kind of how I'm feeling with the format. I think it's gonna be interesting because, like, now that we had development from previous formats, like everyone knows what's good. So that I think that's gonna really show up worlds and some spice. You can either cook up, or people can stick with standard and master it and do all of that as well. But I think it's slightly better than last year.
Okay. I mean, looking at the format, like I definitely agree that with it being something that everyone's played as opposed to just brand new, that it should be a little bit better. But I'm also kind of looking at NAIC and just how like wild this was, even just like the top cut. I mean, feeling Tang with this Wo Chien Kyogre. We're looking at Henry Rich with like this team, like Volcarona. I don't even know the name of the Pokemon.
Overquill, yeah.
Overquill, yeah.
Like, and the double genies. You're seeing like this Talonflame, Qian Pao team coming out from Z. Like, it's Michael Zhang running, like pulling up with some crazy stuff.
Oh, okay, to be fair, he always does that.
But like these good runs as well, and then now players are having like 2 months to kind of just like re-innovate and try and crack things open. And I feel like, for the most part, like like the big restricted stuff is solved, but at the same time, like 2 months of innovation, like I'm kind of curious whether we're going to see something like kind of crazy coming out, or where players are kind of land on that, because I don't think this was a solved format by any means.
Right.
Oh, it's definitely not solved.
It's not solved. No, yeah. I mean, the solved parts are probably like the standard, like everyone knows, like Incineroar, Ursh, Raging Bolt. I think those are the 4 mons that are non-restricted that are on everyone's like priority list going to Worlds.
Yeah.
So this is not gonna be really any surprise, but I think like we saw a lot of adaptations to like popular cores. Like we already know those mons were good, but we've seen adaptations to like Frigoref and like Cornerstone, for example, and the Cali Ice team that won Victory Road. It's like small stuff like that you can add on, like either removing the Pelipper off NIC, Patrick's team, things like that. Like people are adapting to the meta, but they're like kind of like small changes. For the bigger changes, I think people are either high in that for Worlds. Like I know there's a lot of sleeper picks, right? Like mons like, won't be surprised mons like Lunala or things like that do well, even though they're very, I guess, quote unquote bad. I know players will cook up will fit because they have certain niches. I honestly don't think those mons are bad at all if you play it well enough and you have the right supporting kit for it. And I think single restricted, although it's restricted in the sense of team building, I think there's a lot of ways to make your team work in a certain way that people won't expect it. People will be cooking. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, the way that people are kind of working on this format is they're looking at results from any given limitless tour, any like past tour like NAIC, and they're kind of like, okay, so what did well and what can we improve? Like, for example, I was recently testing Patrick Connor's team because I didn't have the best knowledge of Cali Ice, and I was like, okay, what do I like about his version? What would I change? And it's like info like that, or it's like, okay, how to make this better and make a change onto this. Would I play it like this? I think we're so deep into the theory craft that there's going to be players who bring like crazy teams with a bunch of unknown stuff, kind of like Nats with Talonflame, like the Tub team for that, or the Hard Trick Room team. Like kind of crazy teams will pop up. but there is going to be like a stark difference from people who are very experimental and very standard. I don't know how much like in between we're going to see. Like I think we'll see like some small tweaks from standard, but I don't think we're going to see any like new standard core kind of come out from this. It's going to be something like wild, insane, or basic standard with small tweaks.
I mean, then looking at the field in general, then, like, what do you think is widely going to be the more popular approach going into it? And just like kind of what you think might turn out to be a little bit more successful, because we're still looking at like the changes for next year's Worlds with the amount of players being limited. I think that one might be a little bit easier to get an idea of the meta going into, but this is still a pretty big Worlds with everyone from all around the world, where obviously then you have like the regional differences with the meta. So do we think like it'll be that consistency, the things that haven't really changed? Do we think that whoever goes off the wall, like that might be the little bit more successful thing?
That's usually hard to say, because like last Worlds, I think the most standard balance team won, and I think historically, usually balance tends to dominate at Worlds. So I wouldn't be surprised if the most standard Ice Rider team wins, like Patrick Connor's teams, for example. Like if that wins again with some tweaks, or very standard Shadow Rider stuff, like those are probably the most trending balanced teams. And even Tropico's balanced teams are also quite standard. Even though they didn't do well at the Victory Road Tour, for example, I think those results don't always mean much because people can be hiding it, or sometimes the best players aren't always playing that team at that tournament. And I think that balance, I think standard balance I wouldn't be surprised if there are a bunch that top cut, right? For this, like the ones that are kind of out there, like maybe Mons are kind of crazy. Like I know like Weezing Galar, sometimes in Rising Usage and stuff.
Oh
like,
yeah, the Dondozo Weezing.
Like on Dondozo teams. Like I would not be surprised either if those also had a far run, but those are a lot more niche. I don't think the field's gonna be dominated by that kind of team because it has a different matchup spread, and also it takes a certain skill set to play those teams compared to balance, right? That's more of kind of a hyper offense team as well. I still think hyper offense can work at Worlds. It is very strong. Like my Rhydon teams is probably the most standard, successful hyper offense team, right?
Yeah.
You're not really running the standard pieces of Cinderella Ursh because you're running my Rhydon. You can't really run all those pieces together. But I can see honestly like any of that really working. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like for hyper offense, this might be the Worlds that's most conducive to it. But I think the problem with teams like Miraidon, for example, is that the strong or the way that it'll like win Worlds is by people really leaning into that like Iron Hands for Rigraph mode, the balance kind of core with like hands for Rigraph or Shifu. Maybe like I've seen a lot of Sash Rapid Strike lately. Putting that onto a Miraidon team seems pretty strong. Or just like making it to be like, oh, we have this threat that you can't let get out of control, and then we have a bunch of strong Pokemon to put around it. I think is kind of going to be the approach to Worlds, that it's like, okay, I have this really insane restricted Pokemon, but I also have 4 Pokemon that you can't just ignore. Like I think the teams that are going to be really hard to protect the king aren't going to do super well, but teams like Urshrilla, stuff like that, where you can kind of play Urshifu or Raging Bolt, like the second restricted, are going to start doing well. It's kind of like the Reg F Japan balance thing all over again, but like with a sliding restricted wheel.
Yeah, that's that's a good way to put it.
Oh no, I mean, and talking about like kind of different things going into it, and going back to the kind of like this Galarian Weezing and this Dondozo and stuff we're kind of seeing in online tours, like love to know your guys' opinion on how much stock you guys take in these online tours, because obviously having grassroots in this time, fantastic thing. Obviously this is open to everyone. This is not going to be just Worlds competitors competing in it. Maybe not even a lot of Worlds competitors are competing in it for maybe trying to hide things, and it could be people having fun, or it could be people trying to like bust over the meta. So like you guys look at these results and kind of think like, oh, okay, or like kind of take stock on like what restricteds are kind of like on the up and up, which ones are kind of on the down low, or like, how much stock do you put into it all?
I think I put a good amount of stock into it, especially like the more bigger limit stores or online tours like Victory Road. Yeah. I think Fede winning, for example, he also, I think, historically, like last year, he won a big online tour, a limitless tour, and he ended up top cutting worlds. We also had, MDB, worlds finalists. He was winning every online tour, made finals of worlds, and now I wouldn't be surprised if someone like that can replicate that success, right? Maybe not to the same degree, but I think limitless tours are a good idea of mostly testing your team. I was talking to Joe about this, and he was saying that he's also been doing really limitless, but playing on cart is a different experience than playing on anything else, really, right? Showdown and such, and it just, you basically know how to play the game. Like it's a different experience, and makes you know what moves to input correctly, having basic time awareness, right, in the timer, etc., right? And it's also just good at testing your team on cart. I think cart in general, not even just limitless, like even cart ladder, I think is also underrated. A lot of successful Japanese players or players in general that do well on cart tend to also translate those results into worlds, I think. So I think like just playing on the actual game is a huge advantage, and if you can do it, do it.
Strats.
Yeah. I mean, what I personally look at is sometimes there's like some crazy teams that do like really well. For example, the Victory Road Tour, the second place Kyogre Electabuzz team, people are like scratching their heads at. But it's more, I think, like for me, I don't like taking players out of it, looking at more trends. Like I look more like, for example, Victory Road had 0 Terapagos that converted. Like, why is that? And then you look at all the teams in day 2 and you're like, oh, Pagos is supposed to be really good into Shadow Rider, but Shadow Rider is farming them because Urshifu is broken. Stuff like that. Or Mienshao is really good. And you're stacking multiple fighting types, like, okay, this Shadow Rider has like 1 or 2 true weaknesses, and they both get covered by fighting. So it's like, and when the most broken fighting type ever is created, it's kind of like a match made in heaven. So like you see that, and people are like, okay, well, Shadow Rider's on the rise, Terapagos is falling. Stuff like Zamazenta will see this and start to fall off. It's more like kind of seeing how players will react from the limitless tournaments, which is what I think is important. Like, obviously there will be teams, like for example, Fede's first place VR team, that you'll see a ton on ladder the next day. But it's more like seeing how that will affect the meta, I think, is the more important thing.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, like, I haven't gotten the opportunity. I'm in the same boat as you, saying, like, every time there's a tournament coming up, like, I am gone. Like, I can't play in any of them.
Yeah.
Like, I've missed out. Try and get on the one this weekend, but I'm glad that like there actually is a lot to be taken from these grassroots, because again, I think those who run them out in the community, fantastic job. I love being able to see this happening like all the time. That's good stuff. So I even then, talking about these tours and stuff, just wanted to talk into like prep in general going into then Worlds, because I know some people are like, okay, well, this will be the online tournaments, get this sort of practice. Some things are more held secret. Some people are like, I'm going to test 16 hours a day. Others are like, I'm not going to stress about it until kind of like a little bit later, because you don't want to burn out, right? Like, whereabouts are you guys on this entire scale of getting ready, just like with your actual team and mentally for Worlds?
Yeah. I think you got to do like a mix of everything. Like knowing when to take a break. Is good. Obviously, you don't want to take a break for too long. Like I had a pretty big break earlier. I didn't do much Worlds prep. Like we mentioned earlier, I was playing a lot of Poke Rogue, but then I started playing again and I got my groove. Sometimes I play too much. Like I'll be playing like most of the day, and our times the next day I just don't play at all. Right? It's you need good balance, and even if you're not playing, I think still like watching streams or taking a look on your free time on what's going on, like with the metagame or what people are using, is still a good tool because you have all those resources available. But yeah, that's really it.
Like, what about you?
I agree. I'm kind of a mix of a lot of the stuff. I more hit it in waves where it's like, okay, I really, really, really want to do these certain things, and I get hyperfixated on one kind of aspect. I'm like, okay, this week I'm going to put in 200 showdown sets on Miraidon, or I'm going to put 200 showdown sets in Shadow Rider or Ice Rider or something like that, or like just however many sets I want to do, not just like get really upset and then run through games, but like kind of like look at it like, okay, what am I learning from this? How can I take this information that I'm like working hard to gather and like put it towards my like just data bank mentally of what I think is going to be best for this trip? Because like Hawaii is far away. It's like it's more than just a regional or internet. It's something I've never done before, and I'm really excited for. I want this to be my best showing ever. Is like the kind of thing I'm doing. So it's like putting in the time for that is really important to me, and I've been just trying to focus on getting like a wide view and figuring out like the teams and everything, because Worlds Prep, I mean, the way that this format is, it feels like let's say you're like a big Pagos guy, and then everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Zama Zensa's the GOAT." Everyone's playing Zama. You kind of have to pivot. So it's like knowing multiple things for this meta specifically is kind of important to me.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. You're talking to like want to make sure you put in the work for Worlds 100%, and that is kind of a bit different than like regional international. So then I want to ask then like in comparison, like how is Worlds prep just in general? How much is that cranked up from like how much effort you guys put into like a regional or an international? Like is this like 200%, 400%, or do you actually just go all out before a regional? Like what's the comparison?
I think it depends on
I
the
guess
regional.
I don't really comparison is it really depends.
Mhm.
Because sometimes for regionals and ICs, I lock in a lot quicker than Worlds. Like
Yeah.
I might be ready set, or I might be falling behind, and I need to make up all the progress in that last remaining week. Like I did a lot for UIC and NIC,
Mhm.
kind of just trying to catch up on the team all at once. For Worlds, I think I'm more set on a concept now, so I've been, I guess I have more weeks to prepare on it, right? It's a lot more, I guess, vigorous. It's also during the summer, so I've also had like more time to kind of just do it. Not been haven't really been doing as much coaching, for example, not as much outside things that have kind of could get in my way for practice, right? If I have
And
opportunity to
like not
practice,
back to back regionals too.
yeah,
Like
that too, yeah. I also don't go worry about locals too, for the most part, and not I guess to now, but I don't really care about them at the moment. So I had to focus on locals, upcoming regionals. You know, gotta change your team every few. Then you can just focus on one thing, and I think that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, especially with the way that they changed the BFLs for locals. It's like 206, and the points that you get from a regional, because 260 being your max BFL from locals is kind of peanuts comparatively to like an internet's. Like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna buy
Yeah,
my plane ticket for LAIC and make double that by going like, I don't know, 9-6 or something, for example. Um, but I don't know, this format. It's like, I know Justin said that he has a kind of concept he's rallying around, but a lot of the people that I'm talking to are like, they're either dead set on something or they have no idea. Like I'm kind of in the testing phase pretty hard still. Like I think every week it kind of changes, like, oh, what's the trend and what's beating the trend. So I think it's kind of hard to lock in something personally for me, because I don't know, I feel like I want something strong into more stuff than a lot of the current meta stuff is. It feels like there's not like, I mean, we're not even close to solved, which makes this world's extremely, extremely interesting, because I don't know how, or most people don't know how it's going to go. Like, typically balanced cores will win worlds, but it's more like what balanced core and with what mons, and what are these going to be like. I know there's going to be some wacky tech, because you need the tech in this format in order to actually like dominate a matchup, or like a matchup spread. So it's going to be just super interesting to see how it works.
I
so
I don't think tech has been anything like really crazy too. Like if we're talking about like tech pieces for like balance, it's like you can have like taunt Urshifu or something,
Yeah.
or focus sash, right? I don't think it's anything that has to be like any like insane text, but like you said before, like they can make or break the mirror or certain matchups.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree on that.
Yeah.
I mean, Tang, you have this concept. Nick, you're doing some testing. At what point is the panic point if you're not figured out what 6 and what you're locking into for Worlds? Because I feel like it's every year that there's a couple of people that are losing their mind last second. I mean, Joe, even last year, like this Wo Chien that he brought out was a very last minute thing comparatively. This is like, so at what point do you guys panic about the team? Are you guys comfortable kind of like this last second once you get into Hawaii and you're hearing stuff? Is this like you figure out something 2 weeks before and you're just like, oh, well, nope, I got the reps and I got to keep with it?
I think the panic will kick in, I guess, like that last week before Worlds. Like last year, I think we locked in our idea pretty late. We made a last minute change and it worked out for one of us and not for the rest of us. So ideally, I don't want to be making any like really last minute changes, but if it comes down to the point, I'll probably be panicking a little bit. But this time around, I'll know not do anything too harsh, just kind of stick to the basics and don't do anything too crazy. Learning from last year.
Yeah, like for me, I think if I don't have something semi-locked for, I guess, early August is when I'm going to be freaking out. Because I kind of want in this next like 2 weeks to kind of just decide like, okay, this is the restricted I'm going to run, and this is like kind of the core I want to do. Because I feel like I said earlier, the cores are pretty fleshed out, but adding the tech to beat other things, like Justin was just saying, it's going to be very, very important. And finding what that is and what fits my playstyle best personally is going to be the hardest part of this whole building scenario. Because there's so many just broken Pokemon at the moment, like Raging Bolt, Urshifu, Incineroar, and you have to balance, okay, what can I run and what like feels good. Like I know so many teams want 8 Pokemon at the moment, and I'm trying to narrow down
8 Pokemon.
Yeah, like it's just so bad because like in this format, you just want like if you could just have that 7th Umbreon, for example, just like okay, I just want to handle Ice Rider pretty easily. Or something like that. But I don't know.
I want to throw then a hypothetical both of y'all's way. Looking at Worlds, of course, you're talking about learning from this mistakes. Nick, you're talking about like if you're gonna have something early August, there's gonna be panicking. Let's say you roll up to Hawaii, you feel good about your team, you've done the work, you've done the reps, you're feeling good. And then there's always these last minute rumors of stuff going around, and you all of a sudden realize that there is going to be a large chunk of individuals playing this team that like looking at it, you're like, this is 80-20 in their favor. I am not good in this. This is going to be some great players bringing this. This doesn't look good. Do you pivot or do you stick with what you got? It's interesting to hear people's thoughts on this. This wasn't talking about Worlds. I believe it was Gio when he was on the podcast was saying like, if I lock in, that's it. Like I don't care what I hear. And he wasn't talking about Worlds. It was for regional, but still, you ought to make sure then for Worlds you're bringing the best thing. Like, do you pivot in that situation? Like,
that's hard to say for this Worlds. Probably not. Like the only time I've actually pivot from something was San Antonio, the one that Gio won actually. It was like we were set on bringing this Ting Dozo team, but then we couldn't be Tor Urshifu, which was everywhere. So so the last few days we pivot. Like I think it was like the Wednesday before the tournament, we pivot to our own Tor Ursh, the one that Nils Donlop brought, and that'd be doing way better. I don't think this Worlds though that there's gonna be something like that. I feel like a lot of ideas are already like set, even though there's a lot of things that can change for Worlds. A lot of the fundamentals are already there, and I feel like there's not really much you can change if you're already set on a team like the week of Worlds. Also, I feel like information nowadays is a lot easier to get. I feel like I know what a lot of people are bringing to Worlds, even though I might not know them exactly. It's like I have a general idea of what I will see at Worlds. And also, like one thing learned from last year is you can't cover everything for Worlds, especially in a single restricted format. If you pull something that's gonna be hard, well, that sucks. But as long as you have some kind of counterplay to it, or if you don't have a complete auto loss, I had the idea of nothing should be an auto loss if you know how to play versus it. because if you go in thinking that you have an auto loss versus a certain team, even if you're setting yourself up, yeah. Even if it's 20-80, you can make it 50-50 if you play better. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but I don't think you should be making super major changes if you're convinced on a team being good, just because, let's say, Wolf or some top player you find out is running this really crazy team. I don't think it's even worth changing to counter that. That's just way too much work.
Yeah, especially if it's only like a few people running it. I mean, if a whole group of people, it's like every single LATAM player is bringing 8 dark types, and I'm locked into Kali Shadow, it's like, I'm like, okay, well, maybe not. But like, I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say, I really don't think that that's something like super realistic. I think it's more of the idea that, okay, I want to make a slight change, maybe an item or maybe a move. Like I think that with this format, you have moves and items that are kind of just teched out for certain matchups. Because it's a single restricted format, we play it much differently than we would anything else. And with the knowledge that, okay, most of the field is going to be bringing one, like their team will have one of these 5 mons on it. Like you can kind of assume, like, okay, well, this is, if a lot of people are going to be bringing this restricted, maybe I put on this item, for example. It's like, okay, I'm Sash Shifu now because I don't want to just get blown up by Miraidon, for example. Or something like that. Like, obviously, it's going to be interesting to see because we don't really know what everyone's going to be running. And it's going to be a super good experience to see, like I'm personally really excited to see the usage stats. Like, that's something I've been like looking forward to for like the last month, because I'm kind of like, okay, this is the biggest worlds. What's going to happen? Like, what's going to be that 7/8 restricted slot? Because I think 1 through 5 in any order are going to be like both the Calorexes, Miraidon, Koraidon. Wait,
Zama,
Miraidon,
Kyogre,
yeah,
something like that, right?
Like the 7/8, I'm really interested in. It's probably gonna be like Lunala and then something else. Like if we see, imagine
Ho-Oh?
if we
No,
see,
I'm
yeah, like imagine if we see Ho-Oh or Dawn Wings because a group of like 15 guys wanted to.
I don't think so, man.
I don't know,
could guess though,
but what's
maybe
8?
Maybe like Groudon.
Groudon.
I've been seeing some Groudon.
Cosmog?
Cosmog, yes.
Cosmog?
Flying all the way to Hawaii for Cosmog, genius.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that 8th slot's going to be like some niche Pokemon just because all the other ones are taken, right?
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm
saying. Zacian, Groudon, one of those probably, right?
That makes sense.
Okay. All right. Move away from the nitty gritty of competitiveness then and just talk about like kind of worlds in general, like beyond the competition itself. Like, what are you guys the most excited for? Like, there's the opening ceremonies, there's closing, there's the Pokemon Center, there's just hanging out. Like,
I mean, we are on a top 3 beach according to like all the rankings. Waikiki is supposed to be like insanely beautiful. I've never been personally, but I'm really excited. The Pokemon Center, I got some really good reservations, so I'm excited. Like the products look really good. I know I'm kind of like shilling out money, but some of them
I so much last year. You can't help it when it's like all the Pokemon Center exclusive world stuff, right? Like,
yeah, this specifically, it's like going to like NAIC after hitting EUIC, I was kind of like, oh, this is the same stuff again. Nothing is really new other than like one shirt, and I don't even think it looks good. But like this is like a whole new ball game. It's like, okay, we get all of the merch. How much am I going to drop on this for real?
Getting the ukulele?
I was considering it, but then my girlfriend who plays the ukulele was like, I think it looks bad, so we're definitely not getting it.
She's got opinions, okay.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm like, all right.
No I got ukulele. Opinions too.
Oh, he doesn't like the merch. He doesn't like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the merch looks okay. I don't. I think this world, it's not gonna. I'm not gonna go out there to fill up my whole luggage with merch. I did get a reservation through a friend for the center. I'm not particularly excited for it though. Like, I might just grab like a plush or two. But I think the merch could be better. Especially some of the blushes, like the Zoomerol, which just had like a little flower on it. That's it.
Okay, yeah. I'm not really going for the plushes. I'm more going for like I like the TCG stuff. The TCG stuff. Like the mat, I'm excited for. Like, because I have some experience with that, and I'm sure we have a mutual friend, Justin and I, who would, I'm sure, like some of the world stuff, like TCG dice and all that. Seems really fun.
I'm not into TCG, so I feel like it's not for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more like, obviously the plushes are more for us, but there's so much TCG stuff out there that's really cool, and I'm really excited for that too, just because I like playing it and watching it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the plushes, I was actually really surprised to see the Azumarill, seeing it's just a flower. Like, I think it's my favorite out of the 3, but not even because it's good. I just really don't like. I don't know. I don't like the World's Pikachu this year.
Really?
I think it's just kind of. I don't know. I
like Snorkeling, so I'm a little biased.
So cool. Yeah, look at that. Like
this one's good.
Oh, you know the best one?
Yeah.
Oh, that one's good.
Is that Nashville?
If you want to look at the, like you want to tell me the Snorkeling Pikachu is better than the Nashville Pikachu?
The Banjo
probably
Pikachu
not.
is pretty good. I mean, honestly, I forgot to even say this, but I'm very excited for like the ending ceremony, learning about the new game and learning where the new worlds is. I feel like as soon as they announced Hawaii, everyone kind of got upset. And I always kind of knew that I had a decent spot if I were to qualify because of my girlfriend's family living there. So I wasn't like too upset with all of that. Like, I understand why people are upset, but I just hope they pick a location that's not so divisive this time.
I agree.
Because I know people were saying some like, oh, what if it's here? Or what if it's here? I'm like, you know what? We haven't had a DC Worlds in like 5 years. They do it once every 5 about.
For us, huh?
Yeah, that would be incredibly convenient. Is that
hour drive?
Oh my gosh!
This is the DC set.
Yeah, I was gonna say
audio only listeners.
I need that.
Like, yeah, this is all over the place. You're telling me like the world's plushies from this year that the Pikachu is better than awesome. This? Like,
no.
Yeah, it's like I also live like very close to the metro, so I could just like take the train to Worlds. Like, that would be an incredible experience. I'm sad I didn't play in 2019.
It was a fun little world. They had like little stamp books. You go around to different places there and do like your little stamp book, and it was like these little fossil Pokemon on it. Like, it was cool. Like, the World's experience have been really, really cool. I definitely understand why Hawaii was decisive, because the announcement was literally when they were having the really devastating wildfires.
Yep.
So like it was hard to be excited at that point, and like a lot of other reasons too, with like the over tourism and stuff. So I definitely understand that. A lot of respect for those who are not attending or have like said stuff about it. So yeah, but I'm curious with what is going to be coming out for next year's Worlds, as well as just like the information in general, because we have the Legends ZA coming out next year in like half a year. Isn't it supposed to be like next spring or something?
I think it's November 2025.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was the fall. Yeah.
Oh, it's I'm way off. Never mind. But still, there should be the new regulation announcement. I don't see how they don't do that as a Worlds announcement. It's also wherever next year's Worlds is, whether that's a new location, whether that is not. I know some people were like commenting France because of Legends ZA. I think because Legends ZA is now November, that's probably not going to happen. That would be my solid
France
guess.
Would be cool
though. It would be cool. It would be cool. But like, what are your guys' thoughts on like what we might see coming out? Like, any guesses on the new regulation? Is it just going to be simply said as double restricted? Because that'll be a whole year of that format.
I think that they might add new Pokemon. Like, I think they might unlock stuff from home. Like, we might unlock the Tapus and Zern and Yveltal. No. I know you're freaking out about Zern. I think I would like Zern, but
no, bro.
Zern seems really pretty fun. I think it would be pretty fun, but then again, you just gotta get blown up by Miraidon if they go first, like Chimirai.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be super interesting to see. I think historically, I think they might go back to Reg F, which would be really bad in my opinion. Because
they did that before.
Yeah, in Sword and
during
Shield.
like after like COVID era, because it was weird because they canceled 2 worlds, so like they kept kind of bouncing back and forth, and then they couldn't bring out the double restricted because they were saving it for worlds. Like at least how it seemed. So
because what they ended up doing, it would be so bad. I agree, but they did that last generation because it was Series 8 was single restricted, and then Series 9 was just the format before that, and then Series 10 they did something interesting with no Dynamax. Like there, we could very well see a no Terra single restricted.
Think so?
Because I mean they like to do that after they like to do that.
Well, that was only for Sword and Shield though, right?
Yeah, but
they
like
never did that with like Z moves or whatnot, or like any other generation during its gimmick. I think the only one was with and you guys correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Sun and Moon, where they had Ultra Sun, Ultra Series.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 different, two different
Series,
mechanics loaded.
Series.
So they could do one, then the other, then both, right? But I don't think they would take like a core mechanic away again.
Yeah, I think terrestrialization is balanced enough in my opinion, where I don't know why they would take it away. I think it takes away a lot of the element of the current game.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea is like, oh, they want it to be Pokemon like Pokemon with no gimmicks or whatever for like a certain amount of time, because I know people were very decisive on Series 10 as a whole anyways. So like they might just do that for the shock value, to be honest.
I hope not. I really hope not, yeah.
I mean, like,
I would love Worlds being a good format next year.
Well, but they're going to do double restricted for Worlds next year, most likely, in my opinion.
They should. They should. Yeah.
I don't think that they want to stick on an entire year for a format. Like that's why I don't think that they're going to just immediately hop to double. They're going to either add something, take something away. It's like there's not really much else they can do.
I mean that makes sense. I mean, another thing they could do, like you said, like add on stuff. Like they can do the double the first time, and next time they add in more stuff if possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you do double, but then you add in the Tapus or Zern and stuff, right? I don't know how likely that is, but I see no reason why not to start off with double restricted. Just because we're starting with single, going to double, I think is the most logical step.
Yeah, like if you're adding Pokemon, I would feel like you would go to double restricted and then add the Pokemon halfway through the year. So then next Worlds is like the double restricted. I was so certain because I thought Legend ZA came out sooner. I don't know if it's late. I don't know if I'm just crazy. I was so certain that next year's Worlds was going to be double restricted with the Legend ZA home compatibility.
That'd be really cool.
Be awesome.
I want to.
Talking about what regulation we think for next year's Worlds, we talked a little bit about like if Worlds was in DC next year. What about France? But like, what do you guys think on like where it's going to be? Like, do you think we're going back to a location we've been? Because this year obviously was a repeat location. Next year, like, we're going on like 10th anniversaries. We stick along that. Do we think we're going somewhere new?
I think we're gonna have a repeat. Personally, it's either gonna be repeat or somewhere in the U.S. that we haven't been in like a while. Pretty much the idea is it's like, okay, they do something every given like X years. That's the reason why I think the DC guess is actually a relatively strong like prediction. Like obviously I'm extremely biased in that, but I think we're either going to go somewhere like it's very hard for us to go to Europe because a lot of the European countries have very strict gambling laws, which is why special events happen obviously. So it's like we won't have a Worlds in Hawaii, or not a Worlds in Hawaii, Worlds in Italy, Worlds in like, do we have regionals in France?
I think it's Spain.
No, in Spain, yeah, because it's special events in Spain.
I thought France was Lille was special event or regional?
Oh,
I don't remember. Regional, actually. So
I think Lille was a regional, maybe.
So maybe France. I don't, and like our locations are just not very like. There's not too many outside of like the U.S. that we can really do. Like Japan is fine. Certain European countries like England, I mean like England makes the betting odds on all the crazy stuff, so they're super legal for gambling.
Going back to the Excel Center.
Yeah, Excel. Yeah, back to London.
Like
London Worlds.
I would personally vote against that because it's not like we would see that like back to back with one break. I think that's pretty unlikely, but
you're not down for the Excel Center? You're not an Excel Center
I would hope
fan?
not. I mean, like,
I didn't mind
I think
it.
the Excel is
This
okay.
year.
Honestly, the best part of Excel is that the train is right there. Like that was my favorite
Yeah.
part of the Excel.
Nice.
And there's one Italian restaurant that I went to like twice. That was pretty good. It's like,
they have a really good Brazilian restaurant there too. That's like,
personally, like, I don't want to spend as much time in like I feel like I'd rather see a newer place. Like, we're obviously EUIC is going to be in London, so I'd rather not go to the same place twice in the same year.
That's true.
So it's like, also I like salt on my food. But like, so there's a little bit of a bias to maybe not wanting to go there. But I think that we'll see somewhere in the US again. Like Hawaii like half counts as the US, to be honest. For most players at least, it's like super far away. It's like not anyone's hometown worlds if they're qualifying. But I think we're going to see that this year. I think we might see France or maybe the Northeast. We haven't seen a Northeast since, I believe, Boston Worlds.
that sounds potentially right.
Because
I don't
I'm not the best historian
download
VGC
it.
wise, but I think the last one was Boston. So we might see something like, we've never had a New York City Worlds, but I think that they would save that for like
New
the
York
biggest,
New York
right?
is sick.
Yeah, like New York City would be a great
I feel
pick,
like
but we've
that's
never had it.
for Gen 5 remakes. I feel like they would save.
Oh,
New York
true,
Worlds for that, 'cause
true.
that would be sick.
That would be sick, yeah.
I mean, Tang, we heard where Nick thinks Worlds could be, or he'd like them. What do you think if you had to make like a solid guess for next year? Where would you like to see them?
I'll be honest, I don't really know. I think he said a lot that I thought that could potentially be like.
Same
I mean, like maybe in the U.S. There was a Worlds in Vancouver before, right?
Yeah.
That could be also one.
2013.
Yeah, like if you're revisiting old locations, that could be one.
Oh, that's a good answer.
But I mean, we are already doing Vancouver for regional next season, so maybe not.
Oh,
but
true.
Never know. I don't really have any.
Toronto Worlds would be so good.
Toronto Worlds would be really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have any crazy guesses. I feel like there's only so much I can guess right now because I feel
South
like
Africa
it's
Worlds
limited in a lot of Europe. Africa
Well,
would be cool.
I guess we find out in like 3.5 weeks. Which
That's
is
true.
Oh, don't say
still
that.
crazy
Don't
to
say
think.
that.
We'll find out
Less
soon.
than a month.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
find out.
All right, it's time to book the LASC flight.
Yep.
All right. Last little part about Hawaii, because I did want to ask this before we move on into our question of the week. But you guys have anything else planned in Hawaii, or is it just kind of like go in just for the tournament, hang out a smidge, and just like get out?
I want to snorkel.
I don't really have any
bad.
like.
That's really all I want to do.
Yeah.
Fair. You're going snorkeling with them?
I don't know. I didn't have any plans of snorkeling. Maybe. I'm
You're invited.
staying with a few. Thanks. I get in there the Monday night before Worlds, and I'm staying until Monday morning of the week after. So maybe before that, I'm probably gonna explore Hawaii a bit. Like probably mostly in the city. I think to really get out the city, you really need a rental car. From what I heard. From what my family told me. So it's probably gonna be staying mostly in the city, which I'm fine with. I've been to Hawaii twice before.
Oh wow!
So it's nice, but I think it's mostly staying with friends and hanging out with friends, exploring the city, trying out new food. Excited for the food. That's one thing we said about.
Yeah.
And maybe if there's a beach, maybe try that out too. That's kind of cool. That's really it.
Especially for right next to Nick. You said it was the third nicest beach.
Yeah, third, top 3 beach in the world. Yeah, which is insane.
Just in Hawaii, in the world.
Yeah, in the world. Yeah. Waikiki's supposed to be the third best beach.
Okay.
I've seen a bunch of ratings. I wasn't even researching it. I was just scrolling through top X lists because I was bored or waiting for a showdown set to come up. Where I just
that's cool.
Learn random things. It's okay, let's see I don't know, best beaches, and then boom, Waikiki's there. I'm wait a minute, we're staying there for Worlds. This is kind of awesome. It's I was considering getting my scuba license, but I think that takes too long, and I'm too much of a nerd. I want to grind the game harder.
gotta make sure that, like, eye on the prize at
least
a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, I'm staying for an extra week afterwards, which I'm really excited for. But, so I have a lot of time in Hawaii to do things. But, I mean, I'm currently locked in on the tournament. Like, which, like, my girlfriend asked me the questions, like, how much am I going to hate you while we're there? It's like, are you just going to be grinding the whole time? I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
Has she ever gotten to go to a Pokemon event with you?
Yeah, she came to EUIC, and it was a pretty good experience because we stayed there for a while before, but we had a lot less time during that trip than this trip. So having that extra week after is going to be like fantastic. Just kind
At
of
least she
explore
knows
Hawaii
some of like
more.
the lock-in beforehand.
Yeah,
like that's not going to be a new one.
Exactly. That's super important.
All right. I want to make sure that Tang can pack at some point, so we'll keep it to one final question, which is our question of the week. This one, I actually have OBS open, so give me half a second. This one is coming out from Leafy Arrow, so thank you, Leafy Arrow. And shout out to everyone in the Discord that I was just like, hey, I need a question of the week because I forgot to get one. And everyone's like popping in with their questions, great questions. A couple of questions we actually asked like during the podcast, same brain, so thank you guys. But this one coming out from, oh my god, I just closed it. Oh my god, panic. Okay, we're good. This one coming out from Leafy Arrow. If you could pick any Pokemon from the history of your career to be distributed for an IC Worlds, which one would you pick and why?
Ooh.
I have a pretty good answer. I would just say my Blood Moon. Because, I mean, like, Blood Moon is hard to get relatively, and, like, I had to grind for the 0 attack IV. So I don't want other people to have to do that. So I would do my Blood Moon.
That's valid. Palafin would be too easy to say because I wouldn't twice with it, but also like Gavin already had that too for the IC, so maybe like I don't know if there's been a Fluttermane distribution. That'd be kind of cool. I think Fluttermane was also pretty clutch.
There was a Korean Fluttermane distribution.
Oh man,
but
not for an IC, but not for an IC or a regional. So or World. So I think it'd probably just be Flutter.
Sash Flutter back in the day.
Yeah, Sash Flutter or
back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
I still have to say, I'm so sad that they didn't distribute the Blood Moon from Nils after EUIC.
Oh, that was so good.
Or the regular Ursa, yeah.
Hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's so. It was like teed up perfectly, and then they're like Porygon 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so sad. I knew that's how it was gonna go down too, but
there's already been multiple Porygon 2, right? For gifts, yeah.
They're trying to be good, like the new Gastrodon, just the constant distribution. But
no,
it's fine. It's fine. It'd be like that. We can cope. We can hope, but hopefully someone just like brings 6 super cool, super weird Pokemon, wins Worlds. Just they can't do another Gastro or Porygon 2. They got to get a little unique with it. But
I really hope they give us just the Calyrex, because if they give us Calyrex,
there's no way, bro. They're never giving out a legend.
Wait, they did give shiny Arcanine for one of the events because there was like nothing else.
Hisuian Arc.
So they have done a shiny a couple times because Amoonguss was in the past too. So maybe they do a legendary one day. That'd be cool.
One day.
Maybe
that'd be cool, but that's a long shot.
It is a long shot. It is a long shot. You know what? Maybe they'll be nice to us.
Maybe duo. Yeah. Kind donation.
Fingers crossed. But we'll wrap this up. So get back to playing some Catan, and you can pack for your trip. Before I let you guys go, though, and we wrap this up, any final words from either of you, more so too, where the viewers can find you if they want to follow you, keep up with your Worlds run?
Well, thank you for having me. My Twitter is if the names show up on the post, mine is get Nick Don. It's the same everywhere, pretty much wherever you'd want to find me is all the same tag. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me too. I actually gotta find my Twitter real quick. I'm on Ironic Panda on Twitter, and that's really it. I tweet sometimes, and that's cool. But that's really it for me.
Perfect. Easy sells.
Yeah.
Tang. Both of you, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And anyone who has made it to this point in the podcast, thank you so much for listening. There's going to be an extra special episode next week. I believe we're going to be answering all the questions that you guys might have for the podcast 1-year anniversary. So make sure to join the Discord, follow us on Twitter so you can get your questions in. But thank you so much for listening and supporting as always. And we'll see you next week for another episode of OHKO.